Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of CityZilla Plays City Skylines, and in this episode we are going to be tackling some goods issues, but a little bit differently. I know that there has recently been a few goods episodes that have came out, and the content is really great. One of the things that I utilize a lot in my cities, though, is something that's not really well covered. And what I'm talking about is the use of warehouses. You can import commercial goods, and so theoretically you can get rid of all your yellow generic industry and just have goods warehouses. And the benefit to this is if you wanted to maybe put down some more offices, or maybe you're having goods issues in an area where you can't zone generic industry, or maybe you just want to get rid of all your generic industry and just do office city. This gives you that opportunity. Now, whenever you're dealing with the warehouses, there are certain things that you can import and there's certain things that you can't. And so if you click on the warehouse, whatever you choose for the stored resource, it'll actually tell you can be imported, can be exported. But then when you go over to glass or something, it says cannot be imported, has to be produced locally, can be exported for money. And so we're going to actually put that back. And we just lost all those oil products, which is okay. Actually, no, it's still 81%. Along the production chain, you have the specialized zoned industry, which plays a key role in shipping goods to generic industry, which then creates regular commercial goods, which then get shipped to commercial industry. Well, recently there was another episode done by Biffa where he focused on the unique factory products, which is a key part on the other side of the chain for creating commercial goods. And so I'm not going to focus on that today. I'm just going to focus on the zoned industry, which can be imported, generic industry, and then ultimately commercial zoned goods warehouses. And so what we're going to do to incorporate this is actually, because we don't have any cargo airports, we are going to go ahead and build one. And so the ultimate goal for my city is probably to put in a few of them, because our city is getting pretty big. So I think we're going to do a small one over here, and then I want to do one of the cargo plane hubs over here that has the train, because we don't have any cargo train access for our farming industry right here. And so I think it would be a great opportunity. We do have a cargo hub right here, and then we do have a cargo hub right here and right here. And so I think what we're going to do is go ahead and pause the game first, and I want to flip this around. And so we're going to have to delete all this. It's going to take a little bit of finagling, but I think we'll get it. The reason I'm doing this is because both the cargo airport and the cargo rail are going to generate a ton of traffic, and so I'd rather try to do it in an organized way. And I think one of the best ways we're going to do that is by utilizing just a regular 6-lane road. And the reason I'm going to do 6 lanes is because we're going to do warehouses up here too, and I don't want people turning into the warehouses to block the flow of traffic. Even though they still tend to, people will just line up on that far lane, especially if they have to make a right turn soon. But I think this way it kind of does benefit a little bit in terms of traffic. And so we're going to go back and place our train cargo hub on this side, and I kind of want it in the middle. It doesn't need to be perfect, but I do want it to be kind of symmetrical. And so we're going to come over here, and we're just going to make a little bridge out of this. I do need to go pretty high. I think that's probably good right there. And we'll come down, we'll cross, and then we'll come all the way down here. And I do want this to be like a nice curve into this. I don't want it to be too extreme. I think it's gonna end up, yeah, there you go. I think we'll go into the new network multi-tool and just clean this up real fast, just because I don't want the trains to have to go up a huge grade, especially with cargo trains. They would be carrying a lot of tonnage, and so for them to make it up any steep grade probably wouldn't be very realistic. And so that's actually pretty good right there. I don't want to do it on this side because the road's there. And so we're going to come in here, go to our planes. And the reason why we're not going to do the cargo hub is because we haven't hit that unlock yet. We get the Megapolis at 90,000 population, which we're coming up on. And that's also one of the reasons why I haven't done the regular airports yet. We are going to dive into airports and international airports, and because I really want to do a couple in the city. And so we are just going to start off with this. And I do want it to be, that actually looks like it's center right there. Perfect. And then what we're going to do is move some of these warehouses to be over on this side. Like this one right here, the commercial zone goods. There's no reason for this to be over there. They are going to be importing commercial goods since we don't have any generic industry in here. And so we would want that to be literally right next to our hub. And one of the things I want to do here as well is do a couple roundabouts, because I would imagine there's going to be a lot of trucks trying to go to both sides of the road, and so it would be smart to kind of plan for that. And there you go. Just two little easy turnarounds. So now hopefully they don't cross over traffic, even though they probably still will. We can try to prevent that a little bit. And so let's look at the other warehouses we have right here, just because we are creating kind of a little bit of a warehouse district. We have oil, we have paper and plain timber over there, but remember we have that cargo hub right there, so I really don't want to move those. We have petroleum over here though, and so I think we are going to move the petroleum. I think because we took that cargo hub off this road though, it would be smart just to put that right there, because we don't want to over congest this if we don't have to. So then we have plastics, we have zoned industry oil products, and so we don't have a forestry one, though I think we'll probably still want to put it in over there. I think that's probably good for right now. 1, 2, 3, yeah, I don't want to put too many, because I think what we're going to end up doing is kind of expanding this oil stuff while we're at it. So I think we'll probably start with that, and let's go ahead and put in our oil, our little pipes. And there we go. And so now what's going to happen is, let's go ahead and we'll put this on fill, and let's actually move this to the other side so that it's on the other side of the cargo terminal, and then we'll leave this empty for right now. And I do want to kind of just put some trees around this, since this is kind of, it's going to be more of an open space. I want to decorate it a little bit. I don't want trees on that side because of the plains, but I do want trees over here and right there. And then I think we'll actually do some paths as well, just because we do want people walking if they can. And so we'll probably do that right there, and then we'll come over here and do one underneath. I think that would be good. Of course I choose the one that has the column, and right there. And so now if somebody does want to walk, we don't have a ton of walking in this area, but if somebody wants to, they can. Because this is a little farther away from our residential, we don't have a ton of people walking here, but that's alright. We'll go ahead, since we're at it, we'll go and do this as well. I felt like we had already done paths on this side, but I guess not. And there you go, and we'll come up here. We do have bike access coming into the area, and so we would want to try to utilize that for people who are biking into the area. And there you go. We can go ahead and do one on this side too. I think that would be smart, because we did build out our forestry area to kind of be like that. Alright, it's a little off topic, but that worked. And so we have our goods warehouse, we have the cargo terminal, and so now what I want to do, and this is a little crazy, but this is, you know, what I was talking about with differently. We are going to get rid of all of this generic industry here. The city has been petitioning for some while, all these residents, they don't want the industry there anymore, especially not having any setbacks like our other two mini industry areas do, and so we are going to just dezone that, and I think we're going to turn it into a nice office park. But we're going to see how that affects the city, so let's make sure we don't have any disconnected wires or anything over here real quick. I think that's pretty good. And so we got everything we need over here. And so I could just place down a few more warehouses if I wanted to, but because this one is already so big, there's a good chance, I mean, 750 tons, that is a lot of goods. One of the things we probably are going to have to do though is utilize some other freeway entrance. I'm thinking maybe this one will have like a passover to where people can maybe just bypass the freeway. I don't know. I think that might be a little too weird. Maybe if we went underneath and we just connected to the road somehow. Maybe if we did this one. I think that could actually be good with our new area. Let's see if we can just build this out real quick. And there we go. And so now there's a little bit of access. It doesn't provide any zoning, which does kind of leave us with a problem. But I think we're going to end up utilizing this space for something else because we have the rail lines and the electricity transfer lines. I'm not really sure what we'll end up utilizing this space for. Maybe just leaving it empty since the city is kind of farther away from it. And so if you're having goods issues, if you just place down these warehouses, then it can solve a lot of your problems. And I think in a lot of my episodes, I've already done that. I think this is, we have a goods, so I was having issues with goods being delivered over here. And so I actually created this guy over here, which is not very full. It's on balance, 1% full. But it sends out calls to import the goods, but then also to deliver them to the buildings. And so if you come over here and just kind of look, let's see, we'll do the same thing. You got to kind of search for one. So there's a brown one, so trucks. Let's see where this guy's coming from. And so this guy is coming from all the way from our cargo terminal, which is super interesting because I believe we also have a goods warehouse in here as well. But I think we might have gotten rid of it. Yeah, we did. So let's go ahead and place that back real quick. Because ideally we wouldn't want people having to go straight to the cargo line for a goods delivery. We would want them to have it on hand already. So maybe we will put it right there. I think it's going to end up generating a ton of traffic, so I don't know how that's going to end up working out. I think maybe... Actually, you know what? Does it fit right there? What's in the way? Was there a little box there? Yeah, there you go. And so we can turn that into a goods warehouse, and ideally they won't be sending people into the cargo terminal to receive goods. But that also makes me think that maybe this one's just not close enough. You'd think that because this one's right here, though, that they would send the call out there. But that's one of the finicky things about this game is sometimes deliveries will even pass closer warehouses. It actually happens quite a bit. And there are a few mods that can fix the game. But if you're dealing with the game unmodded, like on console or something, it's just something you got to deal with. But ideally, if you place a ton of these around your city, you do end up paying the import cost, which does show up in your income and expenses for industry areas. And you can kind of see this number right here, 62,000, and then even oil, 14,000. I have a pretty strong import business for this game, mainly because our oil, I was playing to where the oil was unmodded and unlimited, or not unlimited, and we were just running out. And so I turned my oil industry into an import oil industry, which you definitely can do. Like if you're on a map that doesn't have natural resources, you could just plop these down and these can be imported at a cost. But then because this is just the raw material, your oil industry or farming industry will then convert it into petroleum or plastics, which cost more. And so the net cost import-export ends up balancing out to where you do still end up making money. You just have to deal with the trucks coming in from import and all that stuff. But if you have good cargo terminals set up, then it really doesn't affect you too much. And so let's go ahead and keep doing that. And so let's see if we have any generic industry anymore. I know, so this is all farming specialization. We don't have any right there. This is all oil specialization. No, we don't. And so that was it right there. We were already surviving this huge city of almost 90,000 citizens without having barely any generic industry. And that was mainly just because I had already set up all those warehouses everywhere. But it's a strategy that you don't see a lot. And so a lot of times whenever you're having goods problems, the solution is to either place down factories or expand your oil industry or farming or whatever and create more unique goods, which is really good. It's actually really profitable because you do tend to make a ton of money off of these factories, which is why we have this huge factory district. And so these still are generating a decent amount of goods for our commercial industry. And so I think this is working out pretty well. I like the cargo terminal. I want to wait for these to finish, and so we need to empty that guy, and then we're going to move this guy, the biofuel Bus depot over there, and then I think we're gonna pause and delete these because they're the smaller ones, the ones that we had kind of placed at the beginning, because we do have some bigger ones. Yeah, it was 160,000. These ones are the best, but we don't... Actually, you know, it's about the same, so I think we're going to just put one of these big guys over here. I think that would be good. And there we go. And so now we have a bunch of space that we can utilize, especially inner city. It was generating a ton of pollution. I hadn't put in any setbacks for it, so it was right off our main road with all this commercial and stuff, and so it was definitely an eyesore for people coming and visiting the city. Even if you're on the freeway, you saw it, just all the smog and pollutants and everything, and just wasn't a nice sight. And so I'm glad that we were able to finally get rid of that. And so now you have another strategy. Whenever you're dealing with goods issues, you can just place down these warehouses and not have to worry about it as much. Even if, like, say this area, I could place down like a small warehouse in here somewhere. They do generate a ton of traffic though, and that's why I had put this back here, because I didn't want it to be so close. But you could. I don't think they generate any. They generate a little bit of noise from the trucks, but it's not a lot, and so it's definitely a strategy that works out a lot of times. And so I could even place like a little warehouse district over here, to where it would service this whole side of the town. But I think what we're going to end up doing is creating that cargo hub right here, so I'm not going to worry about it right now. But I think that's pretty good. We're going to unpause it. I really wanted to do something else with this, but we don't need any other warehouses. Let's see if we have any of the oil under here. You know what? We could just do some more oil, so I think that would be good. It's crazy how quickly the game runs through oil. It's like these are all just baby oil fields. But one of the things I had noticed was that we were importing a ton of oil. And so I think if we come in here real quick and just plop down a couple of these guys. And because it's oil, I don't try to really pretty it up too much. Oil fields a lot of times are just really open, kind of wastelands. I think that looks pretty good. We do have this negative space over here though. But you can even see like our demand for industry and offices has gone way down. And it's kind of funny because we haven't really done too much other than place those oil fields, which, I mean, how many jobs is that? It can't be so many jobs, but look at this guy. He's just so much. 25%. It's pretty full. It's causing a little bit of a backup here. I wish these people would just switch lanes, like there was a dedicated lane for this warehouse. But I mean, I think this whole configuration is working pretty well. Our traffic's not too bad here. We might need to move some of these around, but I'm glad that we were able to do this. We are going to delete some of these roads. We do need to leave that trash road until it empties. We don't need these guys. No, we don't need any of these. And so now, I mean, look at all this land that we ended up reclaiming. While we're at it, let's go ahead and look at our industry stuff. Okay, so we know for the oil that we were importing quite a bit. We just placed a couple more though, and we placed down some more oil, so that's definitely gone smaller. Because I had set up the whole import business though, I think it's still going to be pretty heavy imports. And there's nothing wrong with that as long as we are making enough petroleum and plastics for our factories. It really doesn't matter if it comes from importing or not. You do end up paying the cost, but it's not a lot. Like you can even click on this and see like, oh, so it's 5,000 a week in importing, but we're literally making so much off of that. I mean, you can go to the industries tab. So our total expenses is 14,000, but then our income just from the oil is 15,000. But that's short of any of our warehouses or factories, which I put all of our petroleum and plastics into warehouses, and so it falls under that different tab. So we do need to connect this guy up. But let's go ahead and look at our farming industry as well. Did I mess up one of our lines? I don't think so. Nope, we're all connected. So our farming industry, yeah, we're importing almost nothing. And we are creating enough goods, and we got all our policies in check, and then I believe all of our factories are coming along pretty good. We're not short on anything. Yeah, animal products, paper. One of the things I did notice over here, though, is we don't have any warehouses for the goods within this area, and so it was a mistake that I made when we were creating this area. Which probably isn't bad because it moves all the resources over to that other area, but it still is smart to have some warehouses in the area just so that trucks don't have to go really far to place basic goods. And so we're going to come in here and just do animal products and then flour, and then we are going to do the farming zoned industry products because we do have some farming industry in here. And that power ended up killing some of our people. It'll bounce back though. Let's make sure it's still hooked up. Yeah, I didn't even think about when we deleted that. I should have paused it because that was a main line for this area, which is where our nuclear power and our geothermal is, and so the majority of our power is being created out there. That's going to bounce back, and so while we're looking at this area, we are going to have some trash issues, and so I wanted to place one of these guys in here. I think it would be really smart. And so let's come in here. I don't need it that big. Maybe a little bit bigger. We're just going to grade out an area and then come in here. It doesn't need to be bike lanes, but since this road is bike lanes, we'll probably just keep it like that. It's not a big deal. There is a little bit of a cost incurred, but I don't think it's the end of the world. And so we'll probably come over here and place that. I really like how we created this whole industry area over here. I think it's great. And so we need to make sure we still got a pretty decent demand for industrial. And so I think what we're going to do, another thing that's commonly overlooked when it comes to these zoned industrial types, if it's on top of the resource for which it's zoned, then they turn into extractor buildings. And so the zoned industrial works very similarly to the actual industries DLC stuff, like these, production buildings and then the extractor buildings. And so in order to get the production buildings, the zoning actually needs to be above areas that don't have the resource. And so what we're going to do is come down here and we'll just create like a little side road, nothing too crazy. We don't want a ton of traffic coming down here, and so we're just going to literally go like this and then do some offshoot streets. I could connect it up right there, but I'm afraid that people would start utilizing it for traveling through this area, which would be bad. And we'll probably just go like that, and we'll come up here, we'll just do that. And we'll go like that, and then let's go back into our district tab, make sure these are painted. And then, so that's the oil specialization. And then now we can just come in here and paint these oil industry. I'll come like this. I don't want it to be on that through street, and so I am going to skip that last section. And then whenever you do these, you just got to make sure that you put down the warehouses. Otherwise, they have to export the goods immediately. And since we don't have any zoned generic industry, it can't be converted into goods. And so we're just going to sell what they're making. So let's go ahead and look at this. Okay, so farming, oil. I mean, we're making a decent amount of money off the zone specialization. Nothing too crazy. But ideally, these should come in as extractor buildings. It's just funny, this still shows a oil refinery. It still shows a drilling machine when there shouldn't be any oil under here. Yeah, there's not. Nope. And so let's go ahead and look over here. So we do have the little oil derrick, and then I guess, yeah, this is just a refinery. Find oil. Yeah, instead of a drilling machine, these are just refineries, and they create the plastics and petroleum and everything that the normal industry stuff would, but in the specialized industry. A lot of times it's easy to forget about these, but they do play a pretty crucial role in making money from your industry, and they're actually a lot easier to use since they don't need to be over the resource. And so the second these unlock, you can just start zoning these in without really having to hunt down the specific resource. It is good to have a good balance of it, though, to where you do want some of it over the given resource and then others not. And so I think this is working out really well. You can kind of see this is already filling up. Let's see if there's any. I mean, we got goods trucks coming in. It's funny, even with both cargo terminals, it's still sending goods trucks in. That's okay. It's not the end of the world. We are starting to see people taking this route for trucks, which isn't necessarily bad, because we're splitting the traffic, which is really what I wanted to do. Instead of having all the traffic come down here, we want traffic to utilize multiple entrances, multiple routes. So I think that's actually working out pretty well. If you have goods issues, you don't need to place down generic industry or plant down some more unique factories. Those are methods to create or to fix the issue, which are viable options. In a well-balanced city, you would have unique factories, generic industry, specialized industry, as well as warehousing. But it depends on what kind of city you want to build. And so now, with this method, you can create an entire city based off of warehousing and offices if you wanted to. You don't even really need this stuff, though these tend to generate more of the money in the game. And so getting rid of the regular industry is probably not the best. And so keeping the unique factory products is probably still good, but the generic industry is definitely not needed. We do end up losing that money on here, though, like you can see. So we have a couple level 2 generic industries somewhere. I wonder if it's accidentally in here or something. Yeah, who knows? It's around here somewhere. But we're not making any money from that anymore. And so we do lose that. And we do have the import cost. And so you got to make sure that you can kind of balance that out. And this is, a problem that real cities probably have to deal with. All cities would prefer for companies to create the goods within their cities. Manufacturing and factories create a ton of jobs, and then they create a ton of money that comes into the city. And so just depending on warehouses is not always great. You want to be kind of balanced out when it comes to import-export. But this is a good option, and so now you have an alternative to solving goods issues. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Let me know in the comments what you think. New episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and I'll see you on the next one.